Good evening, Beruchim Habayim Rabotai. Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Tonight I want to begin touching upon a topic that I will pre-warn you we're not going to cover in one class. It's going to take a bunch, probably. Which, two words, AYIN HARA. Everybody's very into that. Bli AYIN HARA, im AYIN HARA, this AYIN HARA, that AYIN HARA. But nobody knows if does it mean anything? Is there any truth to it? Is there any sources in Chazal? If there is a problem with it, what do you do about it? If there isn't a problem, not to live in phobias is also a good thing. So what's the story with this thing? Well, in English they call it the evil eye. What inspired me actually to do this, even though I wanted to do it for a long time, but what inspired me tonight was somebody told me today that he's not feeling well, so he went and paid some lady $500 to pour lead on his head. I said, I hope she didn't pour it down your throat. That's all I told him. So that was a wasted $500. You could have given it to tzedakah. What a shame. So I realized that when people are desperate, they cling on to anything. So we have to know what's real, what's not real, and what's the right approach that a Jew is supposed to have to these subjects. It's a long, complicated subject. It has to be based on facts, not on people's superstitions. So, fasten your seatbelt and use your brain, because we're going to go through a lot of textual things as opposed to our story time on Thursday nights. So, the first obvious question is AYIN HARA a real thing, or is it just some sort of false superstition that people have? That's the first thing that has to be addressed. And to answer that, we need to source it. Somebody says, of course it's true. That's nonsense. What's the source? What do you know? What is Chazal? What is Gemara? What do the rabbis talk about it? So let's go through a little bit of what's going on. Before we start with the Divrei Chazal, the Gemara, which obviously is the most important, I want to tell you an interesting thing that the Chidah writes. There is a Chidah that's brought down in the Chidah's Hanagot on Sefer Chasidim. That's in the Sefer of the Chidah, Brit Olam, Siman Taf Ayin Zayin. Over there the Chidah writes that AYIN HARA davar sheyesh bo mamash. I'm quoting word for word. AYIN HARA is something that actually exists in the world. Ubekocha la'azik harbe, and it has the power to do a lot of damage. Rabim chalalim hipila, it caused many deaths. That's the Chidah writes. B'tkufot shonot, in different periods of Jewish history. Hachel mibriyat ha'olam, from the creation of the world, until, and then he continues, says that through Adam HaRishon, va'ad hayom hazeh mamash. This is what he's writing about his time, until today, meaning it's not something that stopped. And then he writes interesting words, ve'ulai, and maybe, kayom af yoter ma'adorot harishonim. Maybe these days it has more power than a negative power, obviously, we should never know, than the previous generations. By the way, Rab Chaim Falaji in his sefer called Hechafetz Chaim, not Chafetz Chaim, Hechafetz Chaim, Otzivan Chafei, Piska Lamed Bet, brings down a very similar idea. He just says it in much shorter words. He writes, B'chashash AYIN HARA, with the concern about AYIN HARA, Nishtanu Azmanim, times changed. The Gavra Ata, that it's stronger these days. Why? Because the Sitra Acha is stronger these days, whatever that means, and that causes that AYIN HARA has more power. So obviously, we see that the Chidah and Chaim Falaji both clearly made a very big blanket statement, and not only does there exist such a thing called AYIN HARA, but actually, in their generation, and if that's the case, multiply that by who knows how many multiples today, it has a very, very extreme negative power. But now let's do the right thing and go back to the days of Chazal and see what the Gemara talks about it and what Chazal talks about it and whatever we can accomplish in the time that we have tonight. And if not, we'll definitely not accomplish everything. We'll continue other weeks when it works out to really get a thorough understanding of this subject. There is a Gemara. The Gemara is in Masechet Bava Metzia, but the Gemara quotes a pasuk. The pasuk is in Dvarim, Perek Zayin, pasuk Tedvav. The pasuk says, "Ve'esir Hashem imcha kol choli." Hashem will take away from you all sicknesses. Comes the Gemara and says, Amar Rav. Rav says, Zu ayin. That's an eye. What does that mean? So the Gemara continues. Rav Letaimei, Rav is going according to what he held in other places. The Rav Salik Lebei Kvarei Aved Maida Avad. Rav went to his way, and to a cemetery, let's say, and he did what he did. That part doesn't make a difference to what we're trying to talk about. And he said a quote, and this is the quote of the Gemara that it brings down from Rav. Tishin v'tisha be'ayin hara. That's the way Baalei HaTosfot have the Gilsa in the Gemara. So in case you're checking, you see a different Gilsa. In Tosfot learn that the Gemara's words are Tishim v'tisha. What's Rav saying? Ve'echad b'derech eretz. This is the Gemara Masechet Bava Metzia, Daf Kuf Zayin Amud Bet. What Rav's saying is, according to the Tosfot over there, is that out of every 100 people in the world that die, 99 of the people that died because of Ayin Hara, and only one died from natural causes. Now we know that everybody dies of natural causes. That doesn't mean anything. That means what caused the natural cause that killed them is Ayin Hara. And this is not a superstition of some book that was printed, whatever. This is a Gemara. I quoted you a Gemara, gave you the source, word for word. So the Gemara clearly writes that Ayin Hara exists, and not only does it exist, it's actually 99% of the cause of any obstacle that anybody has in his life. But let's explain this Gemara a little more, just to understand the background. It's brought down in the Sfarim HaKdoshim. Rashi on the Gemara explains this in part. In the Sefer Aruch, he explains it in more length than Rashi, just a little bit different. Rashi learns in the Gemara that when Rav went to a cemetery, he had an interesting ability. He was able to bend down to a grave and talk to the dead person that's buried in the grave. You have to know what that means. You're not allowed to ask dead people things and that, so you shouldn't even talk about it. He did it in a way that, of course, al pi halacha was okay to do. And he used to ask the person who's dead, how did you die? Or why did you die? It's not bad, no? You go into a cemetery, you find out what's going on with each guy. It would give a lot of people closure, by the way. People want to know why things happen. Rav had a way to get closure. He would go to the person's grave and say, what's the story? What happened to you? And after Rav did that for a long time, he concluded that 99% of the people he asked in the graves, he didn't ask live people, and it wasn't Ruach HaKodesh, he actually asked them, told them that they died because of Ayin Hara, and 1% told them that they died for other reasons. This is the way Rashi learns the Gemara. Sefer Aruch learns the Gemara very similar, but with one difference. The Rav did what's called a Sheilat Chalom. He asked a question in a dream. Even until today, there are tzaddikim alive today that could still do this. There is a way to do it, that a person is able to ask a question in a dream and get a clear answer from Shamayim, not a illusionary thing. If we're talking about, obviously, big, holy, righteous people, Anashim Kedoshim, they're able to do a Sheilat Chalom, a question in a dream, and get a clear answer to what it is, to what happened. The Aruch has another pshat, that he used some sort of system, which I don't really understand, so I can't explain it completely, that he would plant trees near graves, and based on what would happen to the tree, he would know if the person died from Ayin Hara or not. That part, I don't know what that means, so I'm just quoting, to be fair, to say the entire Aruch, not to cut it in half, but that one I don't know what it means. Sheilat Chalom is a known concept in Chazal. It starts from the Gemara, goes all the way down throughout generations. It's not prophecy. Prophecy today doesn't exist. The Gemara says, "Miyom shenechrav Beit HaMikdash nitna nevuah lashotim v'latinokot." From the day the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, prophecy was given to children or to people who are not mentally sane. But beyond that, there's no prophecy in the world. I have seen once by one of the Gdolei Israel. The only reason why I'm not saying his name is because I don't know if he wants his name known or not. But he had a very big personal dilemma that was serious, and he couldn't decide. It was back and forth, and he consulted with his friends that were also older Gdolei Israel, and nobody wanted to take the responsibility. And he said, no, if we don't have that, we need a prophet. But prophecy doesn't exist anymore. Where does it exist? By tinokot, by babies. The first 2-year-old or 3-year-old he saw, he bent down, he asked him the question, whatever that kid said to do, he did. And he didn't even, I don't know if the kid even knew what the question was and what the answer was, but whatever. And I'm not saying that anybody should do this, by the way. There's a Gdol Ador who, I guess, knew B'Ruach HaKodesh how you do such a thing. But there is such a, but prophecy doesn't exist. There are things that people confuse with prophecy. That's information that we obtain today from Shamayim, like Tzadikim that have B'Ruach HaKodesh, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, for example, and many others. One of the known ones is Ramot Chabrim. Hashem should give him a long life. And some of these tzaddikim, they're on such high levels that, Hashem talks to them in simple English. They have them, it doesn't talk to them in the way we associate, like I'm talking to you, or you're talking to me, but they get a message in their mind, which is really Hashem planting in their brain a message of what's right, what's wrong, what to do, what not to do, and how to do. So according to the Aruch, Rav did a Sheilat Chalom, and through the Sheilat Chalom, through the question in the dream, he was able to obtain this type of information. Fine. There is a Talmud Yerushalmi, that was from the Bavli, right? Bava Metzia and Bavli. In the Yerushalmi, Masechet Shabbat, the Yerushalmi also talks about Rav. It's in Perik Yudal Halacha Gimel, or page Ayin Hey Amud Bet in the Dapei Yerushalmi. That the Yerushalmi brings down like this: Rav and Rav Chia, these rabbis, Tarvayu Amrin, they both say, Tishim v'tisha meitim ba'ayin, 99 die by Ayin Hara, ve'echad bidei shamayim. Over there it's a little bit different if you pay attention to the words. One is a gzeira from shamayim. What do you mean? An Ayin Hara is not from shamayim? That's tough to understand. Hopefully, maybe tonight, maybe some other time, we'll be able to explain what that means exactly. But again, we see clearly that, and for that, Hashem says that He gives a specific blessing, Ve'esir Hashem imcha kol choli, that Hashem has to take away all the sickness. What's the sickness? The sickness is Ayin Hara, and that's why it's called kol choli, all the sicknesses, because all the sicknesses are included in this Ayin Hara. They come as a result of that, and if we can eliminate the origin, we eliminate all. In very blunt terms for today's world, if somebody wants to cure cancer, so if you cure Ayin Hara, you cure cancer as well. And all other illnesses too. And this is not me analyzing the Gemara. Rashi HaKadosh over there says clearly these words. What's kol choli? Davar shekol hacholaim tluim bo. Something that all sicknesses depend on it. V'zu ayin ra'ah. This is the eye, the bad eye. That's what the Gemara says. No. Why did Rashi say that? Maybe kol choli means other sicknesses, or a lot of sicknesses. Rashi went and said, all sicknesses we're going to put into Ayin Hara. Where did Rashi get that from? Rashi doesn't just say his own stuff, right? He learned it, that it has to be that that's the explanation of the Talmud. What forced him to say that that's the explanation of the Talmud? What caused him to say that this is what has to be the explanation of the Talmud? So there's an amazing sefer called Chochmat Manoach. Over there on the Gemara, he explains where Rashi got it from. He says Rashi was bothered by a simple question. Illnesses in plural, in Lashon HaKodesh, it's called cholayim, sicknesses. An illness, a specific illness, is called choli, one sickness. Rashi said, the Gemara is saying, Ve'esir Hashem imcha kol choli. Rav was bothered by a question. Hashem is going to take away from you all sickness, all sicknesses. It should be plural. Why does it say it's singular? This is what Rav was bothered by. That's why Rav concluded that there's an origin to all sicknesses. And that's why we're singling out the backdoor cause of what brings everything else. Rabbeinu Yosef Chaim the Ben Ish Chai has other explanations over there on the Gemara. I'll quote a little bit. It's in Ben Yoyada over there on the Gemara Masechet Bava Metzia. It starts in the Bua Matchil Ma Biyadcha La'olam. Over there, Rabbeinu Yosef Chaim writes like this: Hadekari la'ayin hara, that we call ayin hara b'shem kol choli, in the name of all sickness. Nira lefaresh. He thinks that we should explain. Mishum neshar cholaim hem laguf dafka. Regular sickness is a physical thing; it's a physical ailment. But ayin hara mazeket gam lanefesh. Not only is it something that causes physical illnesses, it also can cause a soul illness. You have to understand what it means. Gam lanefesh could be means mental illnesses. Tzeu lamad. We can learn this out. Miluchot rishonot, from the first tablets, right? Moshe Rabbeinu came down from heaven and brought down luchot. Then he saw the Jews doing what was a sin, whatever that means, of Chet HaEgel, and he broke the tablets. Then he went back up to heaven and brought down new ones. It said the same thing, but he brought down new ones that were on a lower spiritual level. We spoke about it last year in that parasha. But the Ben Ish Chai brings down from Chazal that why did the first tablets get broken? Because of Ayin Hara. What's the Ayin Hara? The Umot Ha'olam. That the nations of the world were so jealous of the Jews that they're getting the Luchot, that they put in a bad eye into the Luchot, and as a result, these Luchot couldn't stay, and they had to be broken. Because they were already contaminated. And we had to get rid of something contaminated. Those of you who are in the medical field, I think there's a whole bunch in the room. So you know when you walk into a patient's room, before you have to sanitize your hands, sometimes even wear gowns and whatever else. After you do the same thing again, same idea. Why? Because you don't want to get contaminated by somebody else's illness. Comes the Ben Ish Chai and says, because of the Ayin Hara of the Umot HaOlam, we had to break the first Luchot because it would have caused harm to the Jews. V'lezeh amar kol choli. And that's what it says, all illness. Mashanogia laguf, something that's a physical illness. Mashanogia la nefesh, also something that can cause spiritual damage to a person. Over there, that's how he learns why the Gemara says kol choli. Inami has another reason. Kari la kol choli, we call it all sickness. Ki hi tiyeh mikol ha'adam gam min ha'krovim. And here the Ben Ish Chai teaches us a very big lesson. Ayin Hara is not something that has to happen for strangers. Ayin Hara can happen from anybody, including your own immediate relatives. Later on we'll prove that the Sfarim HaKadoshim bring down and prove it from Chazal, that believe it or not, you can make Ayin Hara on yourself too. You don't even need a stranger. But the Ben Ish Chai doesn't go that far. He says it can be even within a brother and sister, father and son, in any way, shape, and form. Inami, comes to Ben Ish Chai and says another pshat. He has many pshatim over here. We're going through a lot of them. And Inami doesn't mean that he's disagreeing with the prior ones. He's adding more things. Kol choli sholet b'mamon. Ava choli zeh sholet b'shtehem yachad. Ki oto ashir shiye lo kos yakar zchuchit levana pilei plaot asher horish lo aviv v'yom echad asa suda v'eviu lishtot bo v'ayu ba'ochim adam sheyesh lo ayin hara kasha bar minan v'ra techef v'nafal hakos v'nishbar. Ben Ish Chai says a story. There was a rich man, his father died, left him over an inheritance, and within the inheritance, one of the things that he got in the inheritance was a very expensive goblet. And one day he made a meal and he invited a lot of guests, and he took out this glass expensive goblet that his father left him out as an inheritance because he had an emotional attachment to it. There was a sentimental value to it. And there was a person there who had a bad eye, who was a jealous person, and his eyes were on the cup the whole time. And as he picked up the cup to use it, the cup dropped and shattered and it broke completely. And the Ben Ish Chai says, Bar Minan should never happen to us. Except for us, meaning it shouldn't happen to us, such a thing. And that's what caused it. But the Ben Ish Chai continues and says, Vayu ba'ochim adam sheyesh lo ayin hara kasha bar minan v'techem nafal v'nishbar hakos v'nishbar, we said. V'achar reva sha'a, after 15 minutes, nafal al baal hakos Even achat gdola min rosh hakoter umet bar minan. Not only did his cup drop and break, 15 minutes later a cinder block from the ceiling on top of him fell, landed on his head and killed him on the spot. So he lost his cup and then lost his life. Nimtza comes to Ben Ish Chai, he learned from that story that Ayin Hara has the power, sholet al mamono, it can cause you financial damage, v'sholet al gufo, and it can cause you physical harm. And that's what Hashem's saying, Ve'esil mimcha, I have to take away from you kol choli. Not only things that can harm your assets, but also things that can harm you on a physical level. Or vice versa, however you want to phrase it. The Ben Ish Chai phrased it that way, that's why I phrased it that way. Okay, so if that's the case, it's a serious thing. This is not a joke. So if this is not a joke, what do you have to do about it? So Chazal say, very clearly, that the first thing that a person has to do is make a technical effort. Not to go to weird people to do weird things, to make a technical effort. What's the effort? So let's quote clearly from Chazal, so we have it sourced, that it can't be argued. There's a Gemara, Masachet Bava Metzia, Daf Pei Daled Amud Bet. The Gemara says an interesting story there. The Gemara says that Rebbe, the son of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, the Chachmei Beit HaMidrash put him up on what's called a safsal, a high bench, let's call it. What does that mean? Over there, the Rishonim explain that when a person's oleh l'gdula, when they gave him an official position, so you respect him. For example, and I'm not saying this for practical implications because I don't want any of my colleagues to be upset at me tonight, but a guy gets hired as a job to be a speaker or a rabbi, and they sit him up front on a higher stage. What does the Gemara say? Rav Shimon Gamliel started screaming. What did he say? Preda achat yesh li benechem, v'atem mevakshim le'abda heimeni. Rashi writes, Klomar. What does the Gemara mean? Bikesh yoridu le'alter. He said, take him down right away. Why? Mechashash shetishlot bo ayin hara, from the concern that ayin hara is going to take him over, it's going to harm him, v'yabed, and he's going to be destroyed from the world. Otherwise, no, Baminan, he's going to be killed. So even when it was done for Kedusha, for holy reasons, that they took a person and Helu L'Gdula, he was a holy, righteous man, and they brought him up to greatness. Even then, come Chazal and say, Rav Shimon Gamliel said, take him down, run away. If that's the case, what do we learn from here? The Gemara is telling you, Ayin Hara is something that you don't want to mess with, and there's only one way not to mess with it. Stay away from publicity. Play a low profile. I'm going to say something that about 4 years ago I asked Maran Agrach Kanievsky. Now I want to give you a disclaimer. I don't believe that Maran Agrach Kanievsky knows what I asked him. I just am quoting the answer because, and you'll understand from the question why not. But I'm just quoting the answer because I believe with my whole heart that because he learns non-stop, Hashem gives him Ruach HaKodesh, so he gives the right answer even though he doesn't understand the question. My question to him was that today we have many more illnesses or exotic illnesses than they had in previous generations, or at least diagnosed illnesses. That could be argued. Some people want to say we know how to diagnose them today, then they didn't. I'm not sure that that's right, but we definitely have more diagnosed illness than ever. Lo aleinu ein bayit asher ein shamet. Everybody in this room for sure knows at least one person that died of cancer in the past few years. Most of us probably know way more than one person. That's just one tragic example of so many others. And they're crazy stories. We have so many mitot meshunot, so many weird forms of death. This Rebbe, the tzaddik that went to save his son from the ocean last week and then drowned and died. Hashem should help his almana sheva nechama, and his family should be able to move on and have a normal life. Tzaddik. Crazy things like that. Kids burning in a house. There's weird stuff. Outright weird things. And of course, everything we blame. This is a hot plate and that is an ocean and that's that. There's no hot plate and no ocean and all that's kfirah. It's all Hashem. And if Hashem's doing it, there's a reason. And I don't know what the reason is. I'm not God's spokesman. I have no idea. I'm not here to say. But what I do know is that when I asked Maran Agrach Kanievsky, I said, maybe today that people publicize everything they do because of social media, and that's why I said he didn't understand the question, because I guarantee you he doesn't know what social media means. There's more Ayin Hara in the world. And as a result, there's more tragedy in the world. And he nodded to me and told me like this. I can't say I remember every word, but I have it on a recording somewhere. He said, there's no doubt that today everybody knows everything about everybody is what causes the sicknesses. He said, and to the point, this is what he added on, that's why all the Torah that we have today, which is more than probably ever in history, or definitely from the times of the Beit HaMikdash, is not enough to protect us. Because we're so exposed to the other side. And here's where I turn to every single mother or father. Before you post a status of your children, and before you post an Instagram picture of your children, remember this Gemara. Rebbe said, Rav Shimon Gamliel said, when they took up his child to make him a Rebbe, and they put him up on a chair, get him down. From who? Not from the whole world that could see it. From the few people that were in the Beit Midrash that were able to see it. Shema Ya'abed, maybe he's not going to exist anymore. Why would you commit suicide? And who gives you the right to jeopardize your child's life? So if you're posting yourself, in my world you're a fool, but that's your choice, you're harming yourself. But if you're posting your child, who gives you the right to post somebody else, to cause somebody else harm? And then you write a subtitle in the bottom, my kid's so cute. So now let's make people even more jealous. And the picture that you post is always the picture that he's dressed best and looks best. You're not posting a picture when he's all muddy, dirty, stinky, and whatever else, right? So even worse. And then the other mother sees it and says, why isn't my kid like that? Or why can't I afford that outfit? So on top of that, you also cause jealousy, and who knows how much more damage you cause. So why are you destroying the world? For what? What are you trying to gain? You're hurting yourself, you're hurting your family, and you're hurting everybody else. For what? And that's what I heard myself from HaKohen HaGadol Me'echav. It's not a Kohen, but Talmid Chochem of the generation. Ish Shekulo Torah, Maran Agrach Kanievsky. Now again, I clearly gave you the disclaimer that the social media part is my agenda. So I don't believe he knows what it is or what it means or what anything. So I don't know if he answered that element of it. But the idea that today we're much more in the limelight, and as a result, that's why we suffer so much more, that for sure is something that he gave his approval to. No. The Baalei Talmud used to tell people, we learned this in the Gemara, Masechet Bava Batra Daf Kuf Yudchet Amud Aleph. If you look over there in the Sugya with the Rashbam's explanation on the Gemara, and it's based on a pasuk in Sefer Yoshua, that they used to, the Gemara says, Eitzat Tova Kamash Malan. We're going to give you good advice. Imagine the Baba Sali was alive today, and he came into this room tonight, and he says, boys, girls, I want to give you good advice. I think everybody would listen, no? You'd even get upset at the plane that just flew over. Why is there a little noise? I want to hear exactly every iota that he has to say. Baba Sali was a tzaddik yisod olam kodesh kodashim, but over here we're talking about Tanaim and Amoraim. Let's put things in perspective. Almost 2,000 years prior. And Tanaim and Amoraim say, we'll give you good advice. What's the good advice? I would expect the good advice is keep Shabbat with all the chumrot, put on tefillin. They didn't have to give that as advice. That was simple. That Hashem said to do. You do, case closed. So what's the good advice? The baile leinche. A person has to be careful me'eina bisha, from AYIN HARA. When the Chachamim wanted to come and give a person what they consider was good advice that's going to help society, to make society a better place, they said, you want to be helped? Listen to our advice. What's our advice? Be careful from AYIN HARA. That God forbid, it shouldn't be something that can cause you damage in your life. And that's the first practical implication. What are you going to gain by showing off? What are you going to gain by being in the limelight? You went on vacation, why does your neighbor have to know about it? There's no benefit and only harm. What are you going to gain? And now I'm not saying a person can't live comfortably in this and that, and you should live in a shack somewhere. No, that's not realistic. But there's two ways to do something. Some people build fancy houses outside, and inside it looks like a churban habayit. And other people build simple houses outside, and inside they do what they got to do to live comfortably. What are you gaining by putting fountains and this and that and everything to take everybody's eyes out in the front of your house? You don't see it anyway. So for the neighbor to see it, I told you many times in Shiurim, my neighbor across the street is a big Talmid Chochem and a Rav that I respect greatly. That's why I said it was a joking way, it wasn't serious. His wife one day was planting flowers. So I went there and I said, make sure they're all red. So she thought I was serious because like maybe I had a reason, a pikabol or something, this, that. Because normally I don't joke around randomly like that. So she said, why? So I said, because you can't see them anyway from your window. I live across the street. I'm the one who's going to see them. So the only reason why you're putting it is for me. It's for me. So at least it should be something that I like. If you're already doing it, it should be something that I like. I think it makes sense, by the way. You're not seeing it anyway. So what are you doing it for? For the neighbor. So do for the neighbor what he likes. What do you gain? What do you gain by publicizing, making hot air? I went here, I went there, sending all these pictures of fancy things. What do you gain by it? I once witnessed from a guy, and that was one of the eye-openers to me, of why Hashem makes some people so successful way beyond natural ways. A gentleman, he's in his 50s. He proudly told me about himself, now I'm not saying that this is something to be proud of, that he never even graduated elementary school. Forget about a PhD in business, whatever. He didn't, his first grade I failed, like 0. And he's not so smart. He wasn't even gifted with some big brain. Happens to be over the years, he learned a lot of Torah, so that made him more smart in Torah. But in the world, and he's worth crazy fortunes of money. And it was always a pellet to me, it was always a wonder to me. So many smart people can't make 5 cents. And this guy who really doesn't know anything, he can't write you a text message because every word is a spelling mistake, not every other word. Like, I don't know if he knows how to spell the. It's like nothing. He has secretaries that write for him all his emails because he can't. I once told him, use Siri, use this, use that. He said, I don't know what these things are at all. Like, zero. And he's running empires of businesses and numbers that even your imagination won't get to. So I was always curious. So I thought maybe because he's a big bald stuck, I don't doubt that that helps. Maybe because he helps me, I don't know, whatever. Maybe Hashem, maybe Stam Mazel, there is such a thing. Hashem gives a person Mazel in life. But deep down I knew there has to be more. There got to be more. Once I was in an airport with him. And we went together, we were flying somewhere together. And I knew what tickets we had, and he didn't know what tickets we had. And he knew also what tickets we had. He bought them. And in the airport, when you buy tickets, depending what cabin you're in, there's different lines. And even though he was in a cabin that you don't have to wait online, he went and stood online for like 25 minutes in the other line. I was getting annoyed. I don't have patience for lines, I'll be honest with you. I told him, dude, what are you bored? You do it? And he points to me, the 2 Rashi Yeshivot. He says, those 2 rabbis were in my office yesterday. And they came for money for their yeshivot. They're struggling to feed their students. They need to see me walking up in 3 seconds, getting out of there. For what? It's just going to take their eyes out. He said, well, wait with them. They'll think we're simple people like them. Well, if anything, they should be sitting where we're sitting and not vice versa. It should be done the other way around because they're the ones who are the big Talmidei Chachamim. And then we'll sneak in, we'll figure out a way. Okay, that alone I was very impressed by. Before we went on to the plane, he tells me, Yaakov, we're changing seats with them. There's no way that they're going to sit not comfortable and we're going to sit comfortable. They're Talmidei Chachamim, it's out of the question. And that's what he did. And forced me to do with him too. It's an interesting experience. He was shorter than me. He was like 5'6". For him it wasn't such a big deal. I'm almost 6'2". It's a little bit of a bigger issue. And he didn't tell the rabbis, I'm giving you my seats. He didn't want them to feel bad. He told them that he spoke to the flight attendant and said that they're big rabbis and whatever, they should, out of respect, they should put them wherever they put them. That's what he said. And I remember sitting on that plane saying, now I understand why Hashem made him who he is. There's no AYIN HARA on his money. There's no nothing. He's protected. He plays a low profile, keeps everything simple, and doesn't show off, and he has a protection from Shamayim because of that. And that's an Eitz HaTova that a great man who does a lot of great things for the Jewish nation showed me, didn't tell me, actually showed me in practice how you do it. You don't have to take everybody's eyes out. It's all right. You can do without it. No. Now, being that we are all people that like mystics, so general mystics I don't like quoting because they're unsourced, they're fantasies. But what it says clearly in the Zohar, if we know how to say the page number or where it is, so then we can quote what the Zohar says. So there's the Zohar Kadosh in Vayikra in the 3rd volume, in Parashat HaChaimot, Daf Samach Gimel on Bet. Over there the Zohar Kadosh writes like this: Yasti barnash afilu mimea alchin v'lo yera bebarnash di'itle eina bisha. If a person knows that there's somebody else who has a bad eye, and the Zohar's assessment of a bad eye is somebody who's jealous by nature, even if he has to change where he lives or what he's doing 100 times, the Zohar writes 100 times. He should change 100 times what he's doing and where he's living just to stay away from a person who's a jealous person. Because that's how much harm the person can cause. Can you imagine moving 100 houses? And that's what the advice that the Zohar is giving a person. Now again, everybody should do a Sheilat Chacham in every situation. And I don't think we should be judgmental to others and say that they're jealous. But if we know clearly, for whatever reasons, that al pi halacha we don't have to be down the kav zchut, then on a situation like that, the Zohar says that that's how far you should go. Go manipulate your life and inconvenience yourself 100 different times in a row just to avoid being exposed to such a situation. And the Zohar continues, and I'm going to say only part of the words, not all of them because of time, but of course you should, if somebody wants to see it inside, I gave you the source, you can look it all inside. And I'm going to say part of another Zohar. The Zohar is in Bereshit, in the 1st volume, in Parashat Noach, Daf Samachet Amud Bet. Over there, the Zohar writes like this. This is what Rab Shimon Bar Yochai says. The kol bar nash de'eina bisha, somebody, any person who has a bad eye, and I'm skipping a little bit, the ba'olei le'inish la'asmara minei v'lo litkarva b'hadei. A person has to hide from him and not to get close to him in any way. Why? De lo yitzak, that he shouldn't be damaged. Umishum hachi meish ra ayin bayi listamara minei. And therefore, from a person who's a bad person, meaning a jealous person who has an eye, stingy eye, he has to go to such extreme, he should hide himself from him. Should never be around such a person. Amazing thing the Zohar is writing over here. Meaning the Chachmei HaKabbalah, Rab Shimon Bar Yochai, the Zohar Kadosh, took this so serious that they went to a bigger extreme than the advice the Gemara gave. The Gemara said when we put somebody on a stage, take him off. The Zohar Kadosh writes, not only take him off, go manipulate the world 100 different directions, whatever, just to stay away from such type of people. Okay, but if that wasn't enough, listen to what the Mekubalim write. In Siach Yitzchak, that's a sefer written from Rabbi Yitzchak Alfia, Zchutei Yagen Aleinu, in a ma'amar over there that's called AYIN HARA. He doesn't bring a source to this, but I'm sure there's a source that I don't know yet. He writes like this, and I'm quoting word for word. Hayman, any person, de lo chayil me'ein abisha, that's not scared of AYIN HARA, lo chayil me'elaka le'ela. He has no yirat shamayim. He's not scared of God. You hear what he does? He puts them in the same sentence. If somebody is not careful from AYIN HARA, you know that's a person without yirat shamayim. It's as if he has no fear of Hashem. So you see from this clearly, until now we said from the Gemara that an eitzah tova, right? The Gemara Masechet Bava Betara Kuf Yitchet Amud Aleph that we quoted. The Chachamim and the Gemara said, I give you good advice, be careful from AYIN HARA. There's always say no advice. You have an obligation, and a religious, Jewish obligation, to be scared of an evil eye, and to stay away from it. Not only to be scared of it, to stay away from it. Scared is not enough. Phobic people, we have too many in the world. Do something practical to solve the problem. Avoid it. Stay out of it. And obviously you have to explain what is AYIN HARA really, but that's going to be for a different day. But this is just to show that this is not a joke. This is a serious subject and has to be taken seriously and has to be dealt with. The greatest damage that one can have in the world, according to Chazal, we learn from a pasuk in Breshit, Perek Mem Bet, pasuk Aleph, and the Midrash Tanchuma over there on Breshit in Miketz Siman Chet. It's also, by the way, the Yalkut Shimoni and Miketz Remez Reish Mem Chet Piska Mem Bet. The pasuk says, "Vayom Yaakov lebanav lama titrau." Yaakov told his kids, "Lama titrau." Why are you, whatever you translate titrau as? So the Midrash translates it for us, explains it for us. Amar lehem Yaakov. Yaakov Avinu told them, "Bevakasha mikem." Please, he begged his kids. Father begging his children. Heyu matzniim atzmechem. Hide yourselves. She'ein kashe me'ayin hara. Because there's nothing harder than a person who's exposed to AYIN HARA. Avinu begged his kids and said, "Bevakasha mikem, please hide yourselves. She'ein kashe me'ayin hara, because there's nothing as hard as getting burned by AYIN HARA." Meaning, the Midrash clearly tells you, both in the Yalkut Shimoni and first in the Midrash Tanchuma, that the greatest damage that can be done to a person is through AYIN HARA. No, and like this we saw in many, many Rishonim, and I want to give credit to where some of these sources are from. There's a wonderful rabbi, his name is Rabbi Moshe Yegudayov. He's the son of Rabbi Yitzchak Yegudayov in Israel, who about 9 years ago put out a sefer, AYIN HARA Askapayat Chazal, AYIN HARA and the view of Chazal. So his sefer helped me with a lot of sources, and I'm very grateful to him, because some of these sources I would have never known, I've never had access to it. The basic ones I think we all knew, but other ones I don't know. So over there he brings down a source that I didn't know. This is an unbelievable source. There is a concept, we another 1 week, if we get a chance, Hashem should give us the health, we'll talk about it, called the lachash v'ayin hara. There's there are different ways, there's much more than one, different types of prayers and things that if you know a little bit what to do, then a person can take ayin hara out of somebody else and maybe even out of himself. The question is, are you allowed to do such a thing on Shabbat or not? Are you allowed to do it on Shabbat? Person has ayin hara, and you want to take it out. Are you allowed to do it on Shabbat or not? Comes to Maharam Mirotenburg and writes in Sheilot V'Tshuvot Maharam Mirotenburg in Chelek Daled. We're talking about the Prague print in Siman Nun Hey, and he brings a Mordechai Masechet Shabbat in Perek Shmonat Shvatzim, Siman Shin Pei Hey, that he says an unbelievable thing. I'm quoting word for word. Adam Chole Machmat Ayin Hara. If somebody's not well and we suspect that it's because of Ayin Hara, Lo Chashim Lo Afilu B'Shabbat. You're allowed to do a lachash v'ayin hara for him, even on Shabbat. Why? Mishum de sakana gdolahi, because it's a great danger. Mishum she'atalmud mevi inyanim harbe mishum ayin hara, because the Gemara brought many sources to say that a lot of sicknesses and problems come as a result of ayin hara. And like this, we can quote countless of the Rishonim. Rabbi Yitzchak Abarbanel writes, that's brought down in Sefer Shmot at the beginning of Parashat Ki Tisa, in Dibur HaMatchil V'ni Mefaresh Tapsukim. Over there, the Abarbanel writes like this: Ayin hara ein safek sheyazik. Ayin hara, there's no doubt that it's going to cause harm. Im lo yagen Hashem yitbarach al hamkabel oto. Unless a person will get a special protection directly from God, that he shouldn't be harmed. That's how far he takes it. Definite. It's not even a question. It's going to happen. No, people lose their money. Very common. Lo aleinu, we should never know. Very common. In the Sefer Migdal Oz of the Holy Ya'abetz, and also in the Beit Hamidot, Aliyah Vatranut Perek, the Ya'abetz writes like this: Davar kasher ayin hara. Ayin hara is something that's very harsh. Shu shakul keneged kol hacholaim kulam. Because it's like all illnesses together. And then he writes like this: V'chol makom she'ayin hara sholetet, any place that there's an evil eye, ochelet mamono, it's going to immediately destroy a person's financial situation. And then he adds on words, listen to these words: Hamesim ayin hara al chaveiro, if somebody causes ayin hara to his friend, ki'ilu harago, in Shamayim it's considered that he murdered him. A person has a bad eye, he's not a generous person, doesn't want others to have a lot more than him. And he looks jealously at people. He could be reading Tehillim all day and learning and this and that. He's going to come after 120 to Hashem, and Hashem's going to tell him, my friend, you're a murderer. He's going to start showing him all the people that he killed with his ayin hara. And that's why the midah of Avraham Avinu and the midah that Chazal say a person has to have is called an ayin tova, is the opposite extreme of that. It's to want to see b'tovat chaveiro. Avshach Zecher Tzadik Livracha Zchuto Yagen Aleinu, I spent countless hours with personally in my life. Quoted many different things in Chazal in all different places, but very few he repeated frequently. One of the things that he repeated frequently was Rabbeinu Yonah. Rabbeinu Yonah writes about how much a person has to train himself to be busy, to turmoil. That's Rabbeinu Yonah's word, lishkod, to literally turmoil, to sweat over making somebody else's life better, over making sure other people are doing good. And he doesn't write it as a mitzvah, as a chumrah. Rabbeinu Yonah writes it chayav adam. A person is obligated. Avshach used to quote this non-stop. That's why Avshach gave his life for Klal Yisrael, that they should have it easier and that people should have it better, and that they should have what they need, and spiritually, physically, any way, shape, and form. Literally gave his life. Because the way you counterattack something negative is by spreading more good. Now, some people make fun of it. I don't believe in these things. I hear that all day. So let me tell you, in the Sefer HaBrit, it says clearly about those people. Sefer HaBrit is Chelek Aleph Ma'amar Yud Zayin. Nefesh Chai Sham Daber. Over there he says, also at the end of Perek Vav, and it begins with Da'achi, twice in a row he says the same thing. Va'ata koreh maskil. And you who's reading, who's smart. Lo tarchik inyan zeh shel ayin hara. Don't push away this thing of ayin hara. Velo tal'ig al zeh. That's why I'm quoting this. And make sure you don't make fun of it. Al zeh hadavar, on this thing. Ki afilu harishonim b'shanim kadmoniyot, because even the Rishonim in previous years, chasheshu lezeh harbeh, were very, very concerned about this subject. That's what the Sefer Abid writes, for all those who just make a mockery out of it. Now, I have so much more to say on the subject, which Bli Neder I'll do in coming weeks, because there's a lot of details. We have to also understand the essence, what does it really mean, and whatever else. And at one point we'll also get to the solution that we shouldn't have any issues with the subject. But, because we did kind of create a monster just now, a pretty big one maybe even. But in the interim, right, because you got to give somebody something in the interim also. So in the interim, I stress what we learned from Chazal before. The temporary fix for a person is stay out of the limelight. You're not going to gain anything from it. It's not going to help you, and it will damage you. You can't be in the limelight and not get hurt. Society today is very narcissistic. They think only about themselves, not about anybody else, and is extremely jealous by nature. In case you aren't sure 1,000,000% about that, all you got to do is go onto YouTube and watch one Democratic debate and see the way these socialists talk. Everything is about taking away from the rich. Somebody who has an ayin tovah doesn't take away from the rich. That's not a Torah value. The rich should contribute to others, that's true. But that's not the government getting involved in that. That's the private individual deciding what he's doing. And the young millennial kids today are growing up thinking that the world is owed to them. I'm embarrassed to say how many times kids call me in anger and hate towards their parents. My dad doesn't want to pay for my college, I have to take student loans. I said, guess what? Your dad don't owe you anything, my friend. Go take student loans. Do it the right way. Sweat it out. It's good for you. You learn responsibility in life. You learn money management in life. You learn to appreciate things. I don't care how rich your father is. Now, if the father would call me, I would tell him to pay. That's a separate story. But the kid shouldn't think that it should happen. I believe every parent should pay for their kid's tuition under any circumstance, even if it means the parent getting into debt over it. Because parents know how to handle these things better than kids do. But that has nothing to do with it. Why is the kid thinking that? That's the problem here. Why are we thinking that the world's owed to us? But when you walk around thinking that the world's owed to you, which is what Western civilization dictated to everybody today, so if you don't have everything that you want, and today you want unlimited things, right? Because what was this week's Amazon Day called? Amazon something? So if you went on to Prime Day and saw all the items that you could buy, it's like unlimited. I don't know how many items Amazon sells, but if I had to guess, I would definitely over 1 million, maybe more. So you're missing 1 million items now that you don't have. Well, but Chazit, look what, you got nothing. Look what they have and look what. So then we raise not only a generation that feels that they're entitled, but a jealous generation. A jealous, entitled generation is never going to be happy for you about anything. There's an interesting minhag in Olam HaYeshivot today. It's a little bit transitioning due to doctors and the Surgeon General's warning. But years ago it was a given that when a boy got engaged and came back to yeshiva that night after his engagement, because so what, you got engaged, go back to learn. If you got engaged to waste your time, it would have been better that you shouldn't get engaged. So they used to go for whatever, an hour or two to the l'chaim and went right back to learn. And it's simple like that. I don't see what the other tzad is at all. Baron Kotler said that if you want to know if a boy is going to, something's going to come out of him, look what he does from the day he gets engaged to the day he gets married. If he learns more than he ever did in his life, then something's going to come out of him. If he doesn't, then nothing's going to come out of him. And he explained why. He said, because before a boy's engaged, he can't learn with a clear head. Because he's worried, am I going to find the wife? How's shidduchim going to go? How many years is it going to drag out? How hard is it going to be that? After a person's married, Shana Rishona, come home 7 o'clock, 7:05, why are you late? Why are you early? Why this? Why that? The kid's sick, can't learn either. After that, he needs panos, he has to go out to work, what's left? And even if he's in kollel, he has debts, what's left? Also can't learn. You can't be shakua bilimud when you're shakua bechovot. That means you can't be with your head in learning when your head is in your debts. It doesn't go together hand in hand. It says, but after a person got engaged, he has a wife. He knows he's getting married. And he doesn't have bills to pay till he gets married. So that's the time that he has to learn the most. I tell this to the chatanim all the time that I teach. I tell you, but I got to go pick furniture. I said, no, another Amaretz in the world. I said, what do you care what color your dining room chairs are? What's wrong with you? He said, is it going to make a difference to you learning what color your couch is? Who cares? That's your wife. She's going to be home. It's her department. It should be none of your business. You should have told her before the night of the engagement, honey, anything to do with the house, you do. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it. It's none of my business. It's all yours. You pick, you do, you this, you that. I don't want to know about it. And then you could sit and learn. You don't have to be wasting your days in furniture stores and in this stores and in that stores and in the other stores. My brother Yisrael Meir, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, when he got engaged, my father wanted him to buy suits for the wedding. And he said no. And my father said, why not? He says, I have a suit. I don't need a new suit. I don't need a suit. So he said, but you're getting married. Wear a new suit for your wedding. He said, it's a waste of time. I could learn in that time. Why should I go buy a new suit? So my father called me in panic. And he said, he doesn't want to wear a new suit for his wedding. Go talk to him. I said, he's right, Dad. In his world, he doesn't need it. So he said, but no, I want him to have it. I said, you want him to have it? I'll buy it for him, and then he doesn't have to waste time with it. So he said, okay. He said, when are you going to go? I said, whenever I have time. He said, no, do it today still, so I should be calm. I said, Dad, I don't know what size he is. He says, buy a few sizes. I said, okay, whatever. He didn't know. Down to his last day of his life, he didn't know. So then I was driving. I said, I'll go. My father told him, don't buy him cheap stuff, but go to Manhattan, buy him something very good, whatever it is, tell me how much the bill is, I'll pay you back. I said, Dad, you don't got to pay me back. It's a schus for me to buy Talmud Chacham clothing. I went to the city to a friend of mine. I got him 4 very expensive suits. And I brought him back to Lakewood. And then I told him, try him on, because I'm going to bring a tailor to mark it up. So not that you have to go, but I'll bring somebody. I said, I can't try it on. So why not? He said, maybe there's shatnez in it, and there's some opinions in the Rishonim that say you can't even try on something that has shatnez. I said, so what do you want me to do now? They said, first of all, why'd you get 4? If anything, 1, okay, Abba wants me to get, I'll get, but why 4? I said, let me tell you what happened. I was on my way to Manhattan, and Abba called me on the cell phone, and I agreed with what he said. He said, Yisrael Meir is never going to buy a suit again in his life. He's going to wear the same thing in like the Chazon Ish for 40 years straight. So do me a favor, buy him at least 4 now, so when one rips, there's another one available at least. At least that much. That's why I bought 4. So he didn't argue with me, and then he told me, I don't know, get it checked first. So I took new suits that weren't even measured, and I didn't know if it fits him at all, to go get checked for shatnez first. Only after that, a label and that a guy who knew what he was doing certified that it was okay. He tried them on. I brought a tailor. He said, the tailor's a goy, don't bring him in. He went outside of the yeshiva for a second. He didn't let the guy measure anything. He just told him, make me a cuff, the rest is fine. And the guy told him, but your jacket's big, that. He said, it's good. After the wedding, you gain weight. There'll be room to grow into it. He never gained a pound, but that's a separate story. But that was what... Now listen to the crazy thing. He was married for whatever it was, almost 8 years about, before he passed away. And when he passed away, we found out that 3 out of the 4 suits that we got him, he never even touched. And then we understood why he was matzliach in learning. Because instead of his head being wasted in 20,000 directions, it was focused on the right things. And why did he have blessing in his learning? Because he didn't have things to show off. Nothing showed off. When he needed a van, I remember him telling me, he said, we need a van, the 3 kids already in that, doesn't fit in the car seats it. But if we're getting a van, you have to make sure that it has a bunch of bangs on it. He said, arrange me a van that was hit up a little bit. I said, why? He says, because I'm a coal guy. What do I need people jealous of me for? Because I have a brother that's willing to pay my bills? This for what? What am I going to gain by that? What's it going to help me in life? I just used him as an example, even though I could have used so many examples that are older and more important, because these are things that I saw. And that's the immediate eitzah. The first thing that we got to do to stop the bleeding is stop being in the public eye. And I beg every few weeks, and I'm going to try over and over, because I don't give up on people. I still believe that one day it's going to work. Get off of Facebook, get off of Instagram, get off of all these stupid things. You'll save your life. It's that simple. Not because of the averot that you do there, that's a whole subject on its own. I don't know, I don't get involved in that. I don't know enough about it, thank God, because I don't have any of this garbage, so I can't voice an opinion on that. But I was told by people that do know that there's no big mitzvahs going on there. But besides for that, because you're putting your life public, And if you're putting your life public, we learned tonight, bevadai nazek, for sure it's going to harm you. Why would you harm yourself? What are you going to gain? Keep a low profile. I'm not saying not to live good. No, we're not on Yisrael Meir's level. You don't have to go buy yourself suits and clothes and this and enjoy and buy the best and the biggest and the nicest. But I'll give you a good piece of advice. Cut the label out. Yeah, look, learn from me. My label is shotness. Cut the label out. What do you need a label for? Everybody has to see what you bought? Everybody has to see what you bought? Now, if you don't want to cut the label out, so then let me tell it to you as it is. You have psychotic issues, you should go for help emergency. Because that means you're not buying a suit, you're buying a label. Are you so stupid to pay $2,500 for a piece of label? I'll sell it to you for 2 cents. Go to Chinatown, you can buy them knockoffs on the street. It used to be they would sell knockoff clothing, now they don't even do that anymore. They just sell the labels. Well, you need in shul that somebody turns your tie around and sees that it says some fancy name on it, and wow, you spend $250 on a tie? What do you need that for? What? Whatever it is, I'm not saying not to do it. If you can afford it and it's in your budget and you enjoy it for whatever reason, do it, enjoy, why not? I also like fancy things. But you don't have to take people's eyes out. Do it in a way that it keeps people under control. And obviously, to me, this is also going to be extra sensitive, because as all of us grew up together and are growing together, Baruch Hashem, every week, you know that my life hasn't been a life for many years, because it's donated 100% for tzedakah v'chesed, or 99%, let's say. And I see the people that don't have bread and butter all day, and the people that don't have milk at home, and the children that need medical treatments that their parents can't pay for their medications, and the kids are not getting the treatments that they need, and the tragedies and the horrors of the world. So obviously I'm going to be even more sensitive to that. Imagine a mother, and I had a story like that this week, so that's why this is fresh on my mind, that her child needs a medication. And I'm not talking about that kid from Florida, which I hope it worked out. I really do. I don't know what happened there. Just on a small scale. And the medication costs $12,000. And not only doesn't she have $12,000, she doesn't have access to $12,000. There's nobody between her whole family that can loan her that money even. And now the child's life is at stake, or quality of life at least, that's for sure is at stake, over a treatment that a corrupt insurance company won't pay. And she pulls out of her house in the morning knowing that her kid is not well and can't get the treatment because of finance, and now has to go embarrass herself to come to me to ask for money to be able to help the child. And as she has to do that, sees the neighbor walking down the street with 3 beautiful children wearing $750 outfits when they're 5, 6, 7 years old. It's murder. It's cold-blooded murder. What are you doing? Why? It's not fair. It's just not right. Be sensitive to these people that are struggling, that don't have, that fight to make ends meet, that are in huge debts, that have collection companies chasing them, that have banks ruining their lives. Don't take their eyes out. It's just not fair. It's not right. People always ask me, why do I think there's so many Shalom Bayit problems today? 2 reasons. That's where it starts and ends in my world. One is that we don't get married at all. We're married to our phones and other things. And by the way, there's also a wife or a husband. We're married to our crazes, whatever. Nobody's willing to give up anything today for somebody else. That's the prime reason. The second reason is the fancy wedding movement. $1 million on a wedding, $500,000 on a wedding. You guys sick? What's wrong with you? Are you sick? On 4 hours? What's wrong with you? And the same guy, you call him up the same day and say, dude, give me $50,000 to marry off 3 orphans. And he says, no, I'm tight right now. Yeah, of course you're tight right now. You just spent $150,000 on flowers that are going to be dead before the wedding starts. And then he wonders why his daughter got divorced half a year later. Of course his daughter got divorced half a year later, because everybody's eyes came out that day. I said this once in a shiur many years ago, but by now I think most of the crowd changed. And the YouTube crowd definitely didn't hear this. One of my best friends, for many, many years, he grew up with me since I was 11 years old. When he was young, about in his young 20s, he made it in business very quickly, before the days of young kids being rich like today. And he had his first boy, I think it was 2 years after he got married, and it was a big excitement, and he made a brit for over $450,000. A brit. I begged him not to. Begged him. He said, why not? You want me to give tzedakah? He tells me, I'll give double what I'm spending on the brit today alone. And he did it. He gave $900,000 to charity that day, against the $450 he spent on the brit. He stuck to it. By the brit, his son had a medical complication, and 11 and a half months was in a hospital straight from there. That's what a $450,000 bris does. And by the way, but that's what a $50,000 bris does too. What are you, crazy? You sick? What's wrong with you? People are struggling to pay their car payment. They don't know if they'll have a car the next morning, if it's going to be towed and repossessed. And you have to take their eyes out like that? What are you gaining? Don't do it. It's stupid. It's outright stupid. And then don't cry afterwards when you have problems. The Gemara says, you brought it unto yourself. You asked for people to look at you. They looked at you. And now here's the consequence. I know it's hard. I know it's very tempting to show off. I know when you're young especially, it's cool. It's this. It's that you get a new car. The first thing you want to do is show it to all your friends. You should do just the opposite. You got a new car, downplay it. Say, yeah, my father has a friend, whatever. He got me a good deal. I'm paying pennies for it. I wish I can get you the same deal. It's not 100% true. Guess what? All the poskim right. You're allowed to lie for such a thing. Because pikuach nefesh. You don't want your life to be damaged as a result. Downplay it. I'm not saying don't have it. Have beautiful things. But downplay it. Make believe it's nothing to you. A good deal, a favor, this is borrowed, it's not mine, it's whatever it is. I'll tell you myself. I happen to like nice cars. I'm not going to lie about it. I like nice cars. I also can justify it with all different excuses. I'm on the road countless hours a day, so to me a car is not a luxury, it's pretty much a necessity. It's a shame I'm not an Uber driver. At least I get paid for the miles I drive every day. I don't mean that literally, but you get the idea. On a slow week, it's at least 1,000 miles, 1,500 miles at least. You know, between the hospitals and the this and the chesed and back and forth and then ride. A lot of miles every day. So I like nice cars. So I once went to my rabbi and I said, I want to get in a very expensive car for my comforts. I didn't lie. I didn't even sell him the Jewish story. But no, I like it. So he told me, listen, it's not good for you. I don't think you should do it. But if you want it, this is what you should do. You should rent them with out-of-state plates and constantly switch. Like this, if anybody tells you, wow, nice car, you can tell them it's not mine, it's a rental, and yeah, I got it for a couple of days because they didn't have anything on the lot. And at least you can cover up with it. And it's been years that I have a rented car. I don't have my own car. For that reason. What a smart man. Now, he really would have probably preferred that I don't have it at all, but okay, that Yetzer Hara, I failed at. I'm being honest about it. But at least somewhat try to cover up. At least somewhat make it semi-normal. A little bit, something. Hashem should help. We should be protected from AYIN HARA and from Kol Davar Ra. We should have a happy, healthy life. Ad 120, amen, amen.